Yeah, but as much as I do it all the time, sitting with people that are super passionate about the work that they do, it sort of like forces me to level up. So whatever that you both always do, you never do it as by the way. And that for me encourages me a lot. I mean, a few years ago, we did a refractive surgery webinar for Africa Media. And it was just amazing how you don't come across as people that are about the work. You know, some people, the titles come first. The work that they do comes first. Yet with the two of you, completely two different personalities, but yet the work speaks for itself, but that's not what you put first. It's like you put the human person first. So people get to connect with you as a person before they get to connect with the work that you do. And then when they get to encounter the work, they're like, wow, I can't believe. So that's how I've always viewed the two of you.
Okay.
Hi everyone. That was our introduction. Welcome to Africa Media, the biggest media platform for all things eye care. I'm Obi Malope, and today I'm at the Johannesburg Vision Institute with two incredible eye care leaders, ophthalmologists, people that I hold in very high regard because over time I've observed the work that they do and I'm so inspired, so impressed, and I'm constantly learning from how you both approach eye care. Dr. Moti, welcome to the Africa Media family once again. If you don't mind just introducing yourselves to the eye care community. We've got people from all over the continent who are going to be watching this as part of the series of conversations about eye care excellence that we constantly have on Africa Media.
Thanks, Obi, for that glowing introduction. I hope we live up to your expectation. I'm Rabia, and I'm an ophthalmologist in Johannesburg, practicing for a number of years. Have special interest in refractive and cataract surgery, keratoconus, and enjoy what I do.
Fantastic. Farah?
Thanks, Obi. I'm Farah. I'm the younger sister. I think we forgot to mention we're sisters. The question you always get in the practice, because patients always like, "Can you practice with your husband?" I was like, "No, my sister." I'm like, "Oh, who's older?" Rabia's older. I followed in my big sister's footsteps.
What was it about ophthalmology that got you into it? Or what was it about eye care that got you into ophthalmology?
For me, it was the first time I saw a cataract surgery when I was in 5th year medical school.
Okay.
So the first time I went into that theatre and saw it, I knew that this is what I want to do.
Wow. And for you, Farah?
Me, it was the first time I saw her operate. So I was in 5th year medical school. We do a 2-week rotation of ophthalmology, and I rotated through St. John's, and Rabia was there as a registrar. And I watched her operate, and I loved the microsurgery. I'd never seen something like that, like looking through a microscope and operating before.
It's very delicate and fine. I think,
Cool.
that's
what I thought then. I was like, this is so cool.
You don't realize a lot of what's to come, but it's a very narrow perspective, but
Wow. For me, over the years of observing and learning from the two of you, I mean, you used to be in public sector,
Yes.
and now you're both in private sector at a very beautiful state-of-the-art ophthalmology practice. The planning around coming together as two sisters and saying, let's do this together. Let's come and build something incredible that will be there for generations to come. How did that process come about? What initiated the conversations around the two of you working together in building such an establishment?
Well, I think it fell into our laps actually.
Okay.
Well, we were always in different places for quite a while, and so far I was overseas for a bit. I was in the northwest, then when I was here, then she went overseas. So I think we were not in the same place at the same time.
Okay.
And then when she came back, she said, I need to, want to go back because I don't spend enough time in the state and learning. And then when she was I think she was still there, and this opportunity came about. I had a practice,
Okay.
and when the opportunity came about, I said, well, I'm not going to be doing this alone. So, and she said she's not going to be doing this alone, because she also had, she was still in state, or she had a locum, and so that's why we took it together and haven't looked back.
Wow. How was
think
that
it's
experience
about-
for you?
It's about timing, and that's a
Mm.
huge thing.
Yeah.
So it worked out the way it did, which in hindsight was fantastic, because she's my elder sister and I became an ophthalmologist, and I still needed to establish myself and be confident in myself individually first. And my heart is always in the public sector, and I ran the civil care department for about 5 years, and I was looking for the opportunity to change then, just because of the distance.
Okay.
The distance, I'd become a mother, I couldn't do that anymore, and this opportunity did come. And we both said we couldn't do it alone, and so then the timing had worked out where I was confident in myself by that time enough to, say we can work in a practice together as a partnership together, where it's not one needing to learn from the other, but colleagues respectfully,
Yeah, there are things that,
helping each other out.
certain things that she does that I don't do, certain things that I don't do, and it's great because we can cover a wide spectrum, together, which we wouldn't be able to do on our own.
I can imagine. Speaking of that wide spectrum of services that you're able to provide through your practice, what specifically do you enjoy within the scope of ophthalmology versus what you specifically enjoy doing? And where is that similarity then where you work on cases together, if there is instances like that?
Yeah, Scott, there's a lot of things, I think. Both of us are anterior segment surgeons,
Okay.
but she's done a lot. She does the corneal grafting, so I've said that's fine, you can handle that. I do the refractive surgery. So a lot of the other stuff that we do, both of us do. Glaucoma surgery, I'll do some and she'll do different ones, So I think that it covers, in terms of our patients, there's a better option for them without us having to refer out.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. It's not specifically one subspecialty versus another,
Yes.
but as she said, like glaucoma, there's certain procedures I do that I'm more comfortable with that she wouldn't have thought of, but then we'll discuss a case and we can think of what is the best option.
For the patient, which is, and there's a choice, and we can offer what is better for the patient. If I don't do it, she will do it, or vice versa.
Before we started, in the conversation that we were having outside, you kept on going back to that element of patient first. It seems to be something that binds the two of you together as ophthalmologists when it comes to whatever that you're doing. You're not about, yes, marketing is important, yes, putting your name out there is important, yes, building a brand is important, but it's as if from our conversations, the focus of what you're building is on what would be best for the patient. Was that a strategy that you already had in place from the beginning, or the work that you were doing before you started this influenced that patient first policy that you both strongly believe in? Because I was waiting aside, and are we done with patients? Is this clear? It's as if every single conversation, it's about the patient, and that comes strongly. Whereas sometimes as leaders, we're constantly rushing through stuff to get as many patients through as possible. But you too have this strong sense of, I'm going to take time with my patient, I'm going to educate the patient, I'm going to prioritize the patient. How did that come about?
I think we took an oath.
Yeah,
It's
who we are. It's who we
Yeah.
are, and that's why it made it easy to work together, because other people are like, isn't it difficult to working with your sister, or sometimes in practices with associates, and
we have the
it's
same
who we
ethos.
both are, which made that so easy. Because we didn't need to sit together and come up with a strategy of how we're going to structure this practice. That was there. How we're structuring it is the days we work and the theatre days and
Yeah.
who's where
It's
when,
more- Right.
administrative practical things. Not, but the way we practice medicine is very
It's the
similar.
same.
And possibly that's because we are siblings,
Yeah.
so we grew up with the same ethos of how
But
to
with
do that.
siblings, there's always sibling rivalry. Two sisters sometimes they clash. How then do you balance where you would clash personally. Maybe there's something within the context of the bigger family dynamics where it doesn't that ever influence the professional setup of things then, where within the family setup there are disagreements and then now you have to come and work together as sisters. When she does something that you don't agree with personally, how does that influence the professional relationship? Because I mean, I've never been exposed to this dynamic. I've been exposed.
I think let's touch wood somewhere.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened yet. That's fantastic. But how do you develop the relationship then? And this got nothing then to do with you two being sisters. What are some of the practical things that I would say you do as colleagues that help the working environment become better, so that when a patient walks in here, they're like, wow, I've never experienced this type of environment before. I've never experienced this type of service from an eye doctor before. So what are some of the things that help you within the professional relationship then?
I think it's because we're sisters. I mean, if there's a day she's on leave or whatever, it's never an issue for me to see the patients. It's taken,
Covering each other.
Covering each other
Like
is not. I don't sit and count the days that I cover for her, and I don't think she does either.
Wow, I like that.
And
So
I think that's made the huge difference. I don't say, well, you've had 10 days of leave and I've had 5, so
So then I guess that also that influences because you both involved in. You recently became the president.
not me, her.
I mean,
Yeah.
you recently became the president of the Ophthalmology Society of South Africa.
Yes.
I mean, that comes with a huge responsibility that's associated
Yes.
with that.
Yeah.
Time away from practice. As a female leader, I don't want to put you in that box as a female leader, but at the end of the
But
day,
it is important.
it is important because we have to break through certain generational stereotypes,
Yes.
barriers that will make it easier for the next generation that's going to come after the two of you. How did that leadership aspect then influence or play a role in your ophthalmology journey? And then in her then being the president of the association, but you are the big sister, how does that play a role in itself as well?
That's her journey, and I support
Wow.
it. So
Wow.
there's nothing if she needs to be aware, she needs to do something because of that. It's such an important thing because it impacts all ophthalmologists in the country. So if I don't support that, then I don't support my own well-being as an ophthalmologist in South Africa.
That's such a big sister.
You said earlier, you said, I'm so laid back. I said, yes, you can tell she's the oldest.
And she said that to her. It's like,
You
that's such a,
understand responsibility more.
wow, that's such a, I never thought about it that way. And I think it also goes then to the pride thing, that there is no pride or the sense of ego then that's at play, because you doing well benefits you.
Yes.
You doing well
Yes.
benefits you.
But
So
there's pride and there's ego, and I mean, I'm proud to be in practice with her, and she is my big sister. So that's
It's
the
a different
pride.
kind of.
It's not a
I mean, when
competitive.
she was.
It's not an ego pride. It's competitive.
Yes, it's proud to be her sister.
When she went through doing that refractive surgery course, and then it was COVID, and being at home a lot more, and the kids at home, and it was a journey that she went through, which was really, really tough, and she achieved it at the end, and I'm proud that she did that. It's support. It's support.
Wow.
Yeah.
wow. How do we measure though, as ophthalmologists in South Africa, in comparison to other parts of the world? For example, with your course, you did it overseas.
Yeah, it was online, but I think we do very well. And I think in terms of the whole of Africa, South African medical specialists are right up there. We have a lot of specialists who've done work overseas, who've done masters, who've done diplomas, and that's why I think a lot of Africa still come here for their medical treatment.
Wow. Wow.
And people who live overseas, I mean, I know a lot of people who live overseas who still keep their South African medical aid
Wow.
and will come here and have their treatment done.
Simply because our standards of care
Our standards
are
are
right up
and
there.
I hope, you know, to see it for many, many years to come.
What is it about ophthalmology that you love though? Specifically you.
Me, I like the surgery.
Okay.
Because I think at heart I'm more of a surgeon than a physician, but ophthalmology encompasses both, because we see a lot of chronically ill patients with different diseases that all present in the eye. So it encompasses a lot, and the surgery is fine and delicate, and which suits a female, I think. You know, our hands are small, so
So you need the
we work
delicacy.
with a small part of the eye, and it's very gratifying when things go well. But when things go bad, the stress, I think you don't actually realize the stress one has, because if our mistakes result in a person's eyesight, things going wrong with their eyesight, which is, you know, one of the most important things
True.
for a human being, is to be able to see. So in terms of that, when it's gratifying for like a bilaterally blind cataract patient to see the next day, but also the stress involved, so not to make a mistake when we're doing that is quite high and quite intense. And looking back, it's not something that I ever thought about,
Wow.
but now you think about it on a daily basis.
Sure. In navigating though from public sector to private sector, the scope of work it's obviously a bit different in from where you were based before in Zimbabwe to this type of setup. The patient profile is also very different. How do you navigate from a mind shift, or is there a mind shift in that regard?
So in terms of the patient care, there wasn't a mind shift for me.
Okay.
There wasn't a mind shift because I worked really hard to try and give them the best care I could there. You know, even to the point of the biometry measurements, which I would do on my own.
Wow.
At King to make sure I got the right measurement.
Wow.
You know, we don't have a choice in the IOL, but if I got the right measurement, then they've got great distance vision regardless. And I worked really hard to do that. So in terms of what you can offer the patient, it's different. So it's, you know, having that knowledge when you come into private of what's out there and, you know, exposing yourself. But in terms of the care, there wasn't a mind shift. What I struggled with was moving from a public sector model to a private model, which is very much a business model.
Okay.
You know, and incorporating that business side into it, where it's a fee for service and getting paid, and, you know, almost coming to terms with the fact that this is work. It's not just a vocation, and you've studied 14 years for this, and you do get to earn, you know, out of the work that you do, and that sort of dichotomy of the business side of it.
Wow.
It was a bit of a struggle. But in terms of the patient care, I can offer them a bit more, and sometimes also it's not all the time. Whereas in public sector, there was a patient and something was not right, and they need a CT scan, and they go for a CT scan. Whereas here, it's a motivation to the medical aid, or if they're private, then
other
this is cost, and
dynamics
this
that
is
are
what
at
you
play.
have to pay, and all those dynamics are sometimes. Gosh, I could have just done all these tests and done this because this is what the patient needed. Whereas here, you have to be mindful of what they can afford.
Sure. Okay.
You know, so as much as people think in private that you don't pay for anything, no, you do. You pay a lot because there's a lot that's not covered depending on your medical aid plan, and in the business model of, you know, earning a living in your practice.
But then now, in that is obviously something that you had to learn to navigate through.
Yeah.
Have you gotten to a point where you have a sort of like a sense of, okay, this is how it works, or did you have to get help outside of the two of you that can help you navigate that process?
Well, then most of the help came from Rabia because she has been in private practice for a lot longer.
Okay.
She was in the Northwest, but also in private there and here, so she had a lot of that knowledge. And then coming together here, we're just working out a model, you know, for a new practice.
Wow.
That-
How do you differentiate yourselves then? How do you think what differentiates the two of you here at the Johannesburg Vision Institute as compared to all other ophthalmologists anywhere for that matter? What is it about the two of you that you feel like sets you apart?
I think it is our patient first.
Okay.
And I think in terms of Farah, she's worked very hard to become the president of the Ophthalmology Society of South Africa. So I think it's the work ethic and it's the whole bigger picture of, like wanting to improve ophthalmology in this country.
Wow.
And that will obviously flow down into how we treat patients because she's doing it on a national level.
Wow.
Being president of the society, their thing, engaging with people, trying to change things to better our profession, and in terms of that, to better your patient care.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I think that is really at the moment our trump.
Wow. Two things really stood out for me in that short conversation that we just had now. You have to be clear on why you're doing what you're doing. You have to be very, very clear. And like you say, look at the bigger picture. And if you are clear on the bigger picture, then the team that you're going to have around you will influence the type of working environment that one will have. Because if you're clear that this is the type of ophthalmology or optometry service that I want to provide, this is the type of team that will be associated with ensuring that I've got that team that can implement that vision there. So make sure that you don't have people that you're working with that is just by the way. Be cognizant of literally building a strong team around you that can depend on one another, that can trust each other, that can be able to support one another. It might not be your sister or your brother or your husband, but just the colleagues around you. I think that for me is what I keep getting from the two of you guys, and not being afraid to say, I don't know this, but I'm willing to put in the necessary work to keep on bettering myself. I think that's for me what I am getting a lot from the two of you, in the sense that you're not staying comfortable in what you have already known and been doing, but you're constantly evolving.
And constantly learning.
100%.
And I think
100%.
we're very big on female empowerment. I mean, this is an all-female practice, which is rare. We have two lovely ladies, Jabu and Nadine, who we could not run this place without, and I think that's also important. I mean, she being a female president is very important in this day and age, not only in our country, in any country.
Any country for
all
that
over the
matter,
world.
any country.
And it speaks volumes.
What does you being in this role, what does it mean for you? Like, what are you excited the most about the role? But at the same time, what are you sort of like nervous about, if you are nervous for that matter?
So I'm excited about the platform because of the exposure and the level of engagement
Okay.
we can have. But what I'm most nervous about is actually achieving anything during my term, because things happen, a lot slower than you'd like. You have meetings, you have engagements, and then there's a follow-up almost maybe 3 months later, if that, so things go very slowly once you have a plan. But it's exciting to be able to actually start to put those things in motion. And
Wow.
I have to sort of accept that it's not all going to be accomplished in, a year, but if you can get things started in motion, they will continue.
Wow, that is so interesting. What do you advise to that newly qualified ophthalmologist in terms of their trajectory over the next couple of years, in terms of how can they position themselves, how can they align themselves with the people or environment that can be able to accelerate their ophthalmology career, or the final year medical student who's trying to figure out where to from here? Do I go with that route, or is ophthalmology going to be a place for me? What advice would you give to that type of individual, whether it's a newly qualified ophthalmologist or the final year student who's about to do the hours in training in terms of community work, trying to figure out where would they fit in a career path that will be something that they do for the rest of their lives, or their days? What advice do you have for those type of people?
So, okay, I'll start with ophthalmologists and we'll take med student. I mean, the advice that I give to them is don't be so hard on yourself. There's such pressure where you think that you're done, and it's also a very nervous time where now you're done. Now the cushion of being a registrar, having a salary continuously to finish your training is over, and now where to from here? And don't be so hard on yourself. That decision isn't it for the rest of your life. If we look at, I went overseas for a little bit, I came back, I was in public sector for 5 years, I locumed a little bit, and now we found our place here, and it's a transition, and sometimes some people are very determined and know exactly how they want it to go, and they have their strategy coming out of their registrar time, and go for it. It takes 3 years to just get your baseline, but for the ones that are unsure, go where the opportunities are representing themselves, and through those opportunities you will eventually figure out what it is you want to do, what you want to stand for, and how you want to work.
Wow.
But you don't always know.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. And for the student?
For the student, gosh, follow your heart, because you're going to be in it for a long time, and most of what you do is mundane, but you do every day, every week you'll get something that will stop you.
Like that.
So as long as you know the choice that you made in the beginning was the right one for you, you always go back to that.
Wow, that is so powerful. That is so powerful. Please don't stop being an inspiration. The two of you are doing incredible work, because I think what you have built, the manner in which you have built it, the journey, if you look back, both of you, in terms of where you started, where you are, and where you're still going, there's a constant change, constant transformation that is taking place. So it's not like money just landed on your lap and you had all the resources in the world to do whatever that you needed to do. You had to make sure that your clinical skills are at a certain level, your business acumen is at a certain level, your every single aspect, your educational background, your knowledge, your skills, everything has been a constant development and growth. And so when someone is still young and looking at the two of you, I mean, you're still both very young, but I mean, someone who's way much younger, who's in their early 20s, looking at where to from now, you both serve as a template that both males and females could be able to follow. I mean, someone who's sitting in Kenya right now heard what you were saying about it doesn't matter whether you are in the public sector or the private sector, the patient approach never changed. So sometimes people have that mentality that, oh, it's more work here, less work there, but more money. But you broke that apart and you just simply said, put the patient first, always do what's best for the patient. So that on its own is inspiring someone sitting in another country, including here, who's thinking to themselves, I've been bored, I've been discouraged, I've been despondent within my ophthalmology or optometry career. And just by hearing and listening to the two of you speak, they're getting some pearls of wisdom that I believe that it's going to affect the approach to eye care as a whole. So thank you very, very much, because the work that you're doing is really, really inspirational to many, many people. And just an honor for me to represent iAfrica Media and talk to the two of you. It's really, really, really I'm blown for words. I'm super excited, I'm super blessed, and I'm super honored.
I think thank you to you, Obi, and iAfrica Media for giving us this opportunity. We appreciate it.
Yeah, for recognizing us.
Yes.
It means a lot to us
Thank
to
you.
be recognized.
Thank you very much. All the best for the remainder of 2023.
Thank you.
It's going to be a big one for eye care. I feel like there's a lot of people who have an urgency in their hearts to make a difference. And it's conversations like this that are going to propel those conversations to go even further, so that the stakeholders who are making all these decisions can also come to the party and say, we need to do more, we need to collaborate more, we need to come together as eye care professionals across the continent in making sure that eye care is at the level at which it's supposed to be. So I'm super excited, and I look forward to more conversations like this from the two of you.
Thanks.
Thanks very much.
Everyone, if you're not yet subscribed to the Africa Media YouTube channel, do so right now. Make sure to connect with us across all the different social media platforms. Check out the next episode. We're going to be in a country that you wouldn't expect. So stay tuned, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was nice.
That was very
Really
nice.
Nervous.
Yeah.